Here's a compelling introduction for your YouTube video story. It all started on an ordinary day in a room filled with people who had no idea their lives were about to change. The air was thick with the usual distractions, phones buzzing, quiet whispers, minds drifting. But then, a voice cut through the noise. A voice that didn't just speak but demanded attention. "Wake up!" The speaker's words rang out, sharp and clear. The crowd, caught off guard, turned their heads. Some looked curious, others skeptical. But no one could ignore the energy in the room. The man standing before them wasn't here to comfort them with soft words or empty motivation. He was here to shake them awake, to force them to confront something they had been avoiding for far too long. You are not broken. You are not unlucky. You are not a victim of life circumstances. You are just making stupid choices. A heavy silence followed. Some people shifted in their seats, uncomfortable. Others nodded as if deep down they knew he was right. He didn't say it to insult them. He wasn't here to put anyone down. He was here to tell the truth, the kind of truth most people run from. The kind that stings but also liberates. Because once you see the problem clearly, you have the power to change it. But as long as you keep making excuses, blaming others, or waiting for the perfect moment, nothing will ever change. A young man in the audience caught his eye. He was slouched, arms crossed, a doubtful expression on his face. The speaker smiled. "You," he said, pointing at him. "Tell me, what's stopping you from being the person you want to be?" The young man hesitated. He could feel every eye in the room on him. He wanted to say something clever, something that would prove the speaker wrong. But for the first time in a long time, he had no excuse, no justification, just a sinking feeling that he had been holding himself back all along. And that's when the real conversation began. Because in that moment, the entire room realized something powerful. This wasn't just a speech. This was a wake-up call. A challenge. A moment that could either be ignored or embraced. The choice was theirs. And what happened next changed everything. The room stayed silent, the weight of the question hanging in the air. The young man shifted in his seat, his mind racing for an answer. He had spent years blaming the world for his struggles, his parents, his teachers, his bad luck. But now, sitting under the sharp gaze of the speaker, he realized something terrifying. No one had ever asked him this before. No one had ever forced him to look in the mirror and see the truth. He had always told himself he was doing his best, that life was unfair, that success was reserved for the lucky few. But deep down, he knew that wasn't the whole story. The speaker took a slow step forward, eyes scanning the audience. You see, this is the moment where most people turn away. This is the part where they get defensive, where they cling to their excuses because it's easier than facing reality. But let me ask you something. How many more years are you willing to waste before you finally take control? A woman in the back uncrossed her arms, her expression shifting from skepticism to quiet reflection. A man near the front leaned forward, hands clasped together. People were starting to listen, really listen. The speaker continued, his voice. Every single day, people wake up with a choice, to stay the same or to change. But change is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront your own flaws, your own patterns, the ways you've been sabotaging yourself without even realizing it. And that's exactly why most people don't do it. They don't want to face the truth. The young man swallowed hard, his mind flashing through all the times he had quit before he even tried. The opportunities he had walked away from. The moments he had told himself, "I'm not good enough. It's not meant for me, " He had convinced himself that life was unfair. But what if the real problem was that he had never truly given himself a chance? The speaker let the silence stretch, allowing the weight of his words to settle in. Then he said something that cut through the tension like a blade. If you don't take responsibility for your life, someone else will. And let me tell you something, nobody cares about your dreams the way you do. No one is coming to save you. A murmur ran through the audience. Some people nodded. Others looked away, as if trying to escape the truth staring them. The tension in the room was almost unbearable. The speaker's words echoed in the young man's mind, each one cutting deeper than the last. His whole life, he had blamed circumstances, other people, and even fate for where he was. But now, sitting there, he felt something he hadn't felt before, accountability. A terrifying realization crept in. Asterisk what if for the speaker stood still, his eyes locked onto the young man. The silence in the room was deafening. Every heartbeat felt louder, every breath heavier. Then, in a quiet but firm voice, he said, "If you walk out of here today and change nothing, you've already made your choice." The young man felt a lump in his throat. His mind was screaming with resistance. Asterisk it's not that simple. You don't know my life. You don't understand what I've been through, asterisk, but deep down. Another voice whispered something even more terrifying. Asterisk what if he's right, asterisk. Then, the speaker did something no one expected. He walked over to the young man and held out his hand. "Stand up," he said. The young man hesitated, feeling the weight of 1,000 excuses pressing down on him. But something inside him cracked. He didn't know if it was anger, frustration, or some strange, desperate hope. Slowly, he reached out and took the speaker's hand, pulling himself to his feet. "Now," the speaker said, looking him dead in the eyes, "tell me one reason, one real reason, why you can't change your life right now." The young man opened his mouth. The room was still, the weight of the moment pressing down on everyone. The young man took a deep breath, his mind finally clear. He had spent years searching for something, an answer, a reason, an excuse. But now, standing there, he realized the truth had been in front of him all along. No one was stopping him. No one was holding him back. It had always been him. The speaker gave a small nod, as if he already knew what the young man had just figured out. "Now," he said, stepping back, "what are you going to do about it?" And for the first time, the young man had an answer.